What up everyone, it's your boy Soju, back again with another horror video game review, this time for Hello Neighbor. To start things off, I gotta say it's pretty hard to recommend playing through this game. Even though I did have some fun with it, it is super frustrating and I would only recommend to people who are some hardcore puzzle chasers. But before I get too far into it, let me go ahead and drop that spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
Okay, so the positives for Hello Neighbor, the first one being just the overall general premise of this game is what really intrigued me and kind of wrote me into playing this game without having seen a whole lot of gameplay or anything like that. But the idea of taking a movie kind of like Disturbia, where you're in suburbia and especially being a kid in this game, I thought was a brilliant move. You think your neighbor has done something and you want to explore. So many great movies have kind of been set around this premise of exploring, you know, the dark deeds of suburbia and stuff like that. And so that it really intrigued me, and I thought that they were able to pull off some aspects of that like really well. This game has a weird thing where even though it's a newer game, it really gives me this flash of nostalgia. It feels like this could easily be a game that I played on the N64 or the PlayStation, easily a game from like the 90s era. Just the way that the puzzles are set up, the overall art style, the soundtrack and everything like that. It feels like a game from that time, and not only a game, but even like the kind of the color scheme and everything like that just like reminded me of like Nickelodeon and stuff like that. So even though it's a newer game, it felt like it was a game that I had played before. It just reminded me of that time, and I really enjoyed it for that. Surprisingly so. I didn't really know that going into it, but as I was playing it really gave me that feeling. This game is hard, and it's going to be some positives and negatives for that. As far as the positives go, being difficult when it makes sense. So, you know, finding a key that matches, you know, a colored lock or something like that. It works well because when I was able to figure it out with intuition and with the way that the game is set up, it felt really rewarding because these puzzles are very difficult and you're trying to break into this house and you have to unlock doors and you have to escape, you know, like cameras and traps and the whole time the neighbor's trying to catch you. And when it makes sense, when it's intuitive, it feels really rewarding to solve these puzzles because they're supposed to be difficult. They're supposed to keep you out. And I thought that they did a really good job with linking like the sound and the tension of the neighbor kind of chasing you around. Anytime the neighbor like catches you, there's like this, you know, like bump, you know, jump sound effect. And it always kind of got me. The music ramps up when he's chasing you or when he's looking for you and stuff like that. And so I thought they did a good job with that because you want to feel that tension in this kind of game where you're trying to be very stealthy. And then also to a lot of the basement sequences once you do get into the house and explore kind of like this darker area towards the end of each kind of act. There are 3 acts in this game, so when you're in the basement, it definitely takes on more of that horror vibe. Some of the themes that they explore are really interesting and intriguing and you know, fit into the horror genre really well, I think, and playing off that kind of Disturbia, dark suburbia feel. I thought they captured some aspects of that really well, especially like the fake rooms in the basement that you have to kind of like explore, and the fake windows and trying to make them like look really cheery and stuff like that. I thought that worked really well and I enjoyed that. The negatives. This game is really hard. So on the negative aspect of that, when it's not rewarding, it is just so frustrating. Sometimes this game just does not make any sense. And that kind of even goes back to some of the 90s vibes that it gives me. there's no real like tutorial phase of this game. It kind of just throws you in and you are kind of forced to figure out how these puzzles work. And as the game progresses, as you go through new acts and the house gets bigger and there are more items to interact with, a lot of it just doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't explain to you that certain things can be done, that it's just, you know, that you can use an umbrella to soften your falls, or that you can jump from one area to another, or you need to like knock down this one specific picture when there's just no signal that that picture has any significance, or that you can even interact with that picture. It gets to a point to where it's frustratingly difficult, and it gets tired because you get caught so many times. The first act of this game, you know, you want to explore this house, but it just doesn't give you a lot of room. A lot of the rooms are locked initially, and you got to sneak in through a window or stuff like that. And you get caught over and over and over and over again because there's just not a lot of room to explore. The stealth options aren't like well developed or anything. Most of the time you just got to like run away from the neighbor, and it's kind of hard to know where he is. There's no map function. There's no like waypoint function. And so that can be very frustrating. Also, on top of that, the physics and controls do not feel consistent in this game. They feel choppy. And so when you even think you might have figured out this obscure puzzle, sometimes that can be dampened by not knowing if the controls are acting properly, or if the physics are acting properly, or if you're just completely off basis. It's really hard to tell sometimes. And with all of that, again, another game where the ending just feels so disappointing. So the whole premise around this game is this mystery, and trying to unlock this mystery, and being stealthy to unlock this mystery. And this game just does not feel like it delivers on that, especially with as hard as some of these puzzles are. You would hope that you're going to get a really deep and interesting story, and there are aspects of it where it kind of gives you these little tidbits, but at the end of all these 3 acts, it really just feels like it can't deliver. Like it was more premise than anything else, which is just really disappointing, because the game is really kind of 50-50 for me, in that like some aspects I found really fun, some I just found really frustrating, and it really could have been better had they put a little more effort into the story and mostly the ending of this game, feeling like you were justified in pushing through a lot of those struggles. So yeah, that's those are my main thoughts. So let's go ahead and get into the final score.
Overall, I gotta give this game a 2 out of 5. While I did have some fun playing through it, I think the puzzles are a little too obscure to enjoy all the way through. If you've played through this game, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, until next time, everyone, please don't forget to keep chillin'.